All right, it's Monday, July 10th. This is end of the day SPY recap, and today, first day of the week, we end up with a two down potential failure bar that closed green. So you can see we took out the low of the previous day. That was kind of expected given the shooter bar, but we did not reach our first target, which is the low of this bar here on Thursday and the low of the week. And eventually, after a few pushes down, which I'll get into, we worked up green and closed green. So expecting a little higher tomorrow. And this could potentially be a pretty powerful signal given the fact that, when you have a two down day or any kind of or a two up day, whatever, and it doesn't reach its target, and then you get a reversal signal the other way, it's usually higher probability that you're going to go to the next target. The only problem is the next target is still this big, selling tail in here, and you got to get through the midpoint of that bar. So who knows if we just take at the highs of that and then chop around. That's what's been happening for 3 days now. We're just going, this is a choppy day. We went down and we closed up, then you went up and closed down, now you went down and closed up, and we have a CPI number coming out on Wednesday. So maybe the market's, making it a little tricky here ahead of that. Overall, though, in the bigger picture, on the weekly chart, we do have that inside red bar that we talked about on the weekly recap that should have, tested lower. You're kind of looking for a failure, or continuation, but the failure is definitely a possibility. And the failure would typically happen kind of early in the week where, you'd expect it to maybe come down Monday, Tuesday, take out those lows, not follow through, and then get some kind of daily reversal that starts to move back through the midpoint of that bar. So you kind of want to see that failure happening early. But in this case, we don't even have a potential failure because we're still inside of the prior week. And this week was inside of that week. So this is just all congestion here at the moment on the weekly chart. So this green bar at the moment, we do have a reference point, the open of today. As long as we stay above that, we'll consider the upside. But right now we're just inside of this bar. Who knows? Maybe we, actually by the end of the week get an up breakout from this inside bar. Never even take out those lows. So that's what we'll monitor day after day. And after this kind of reverse, failure in the green day, and if we start up tomorrow as we expect, then maybe we're not even taking out this low, and this whole inside price action from last week is going to resolve to the upside. So we'll check that out. In terms of today's trading, it's a little tricky. Let me just explain kind of what I did and the way I was viewing it. And, first of all, I was expecting the SPY to head lower after this big, red close on Friday, but price immediately started up. So there was no immediate sell. But what happened was on the QQQs, which I was also watching, that bar had a big shooter bar. So I decided to, kind of anticipate the SPYs might roll over lower and instead trade the QQQs, which are a lot weaker. I shot a video how I bought some puts here at the open. It took out some targets, and then I, had a small gain. I wanted to continue watching it. And in the SPY, what that was doing was having a first move up, second bar pause, and then normally on an up condition, this would be a great buy here, buying that bar 3 breakout of this double pause. But you were kind of below the midpoint of the prior day, so that's one reason you wouldn't do it. Second reason is you had this big selling. In order for this to have been a SPY failure, which it did take out the low on the first bar, you would have had to get through the midpoint of this bar and then have a projected outside day to the upside. And given that you had this big selling tail, that was kind of... It said, that's going to be tough to get through. It's possible, but, that's why I really wasn't thinking of buying this as a potential two down failure that was going to get through the midpoint of all this. You could see all this fair value gap in here that could have been filled and rolled over. So I don't think this was the aggressive buy. If so, then you're taking your loss here at midpoint of that first bar, 2 bars later if you bought it. What really, the thing to do after it took out these pre-market highs, the blue line, was to kind of do the green to red sell in here with the anticipation of taking out the the intraday low, and then maybe moving to that overnight, low right in here, the blue line, and then kind of getting that weekly, reaching our target. So that was a potential trade to go short. And also kind of this one push up failure, this down here was another potential short trade. So in the morning, and then at that point, I'll show you why this reversal was actually it looked kind of meaningful to me. But in terms of the upside here, like I said, I bought some Q puts a couple of times. QQQ, I had a small gain here and had a pretty nice gain here, but then it immediately, failed on that intraday low, same way the SPY did. And I ended up buying, I'll show you in a second. I decided to give the calls a shot here. So, for my trading today, just to go over it again, I bought the QQQ puts, and I was buying, BABA, I forgot about that. I bought that one early, and I'll show you in a second. That was a small gain. And then I exited the QQQs at a small gain. I re-entered those, and then eventually I bought the SPY calls here, and that was. First of all, looking at BABA, I was buying that on the first bar breakout here, and that was ended up, even though it didn't get a second push to new highs, it ended up being a small gain in the morning trade. But what happened was on the SPY, once I saw my QQQs not following through and I saw the SPY making 2 pushes down and this big green bar, I decided to buy some calls here, kind of at this, I drew a little purple line where I actually entered. I was kind of away doing it, on a laptop computer. I just wanted to see if this might be a potential reversal, given you had 2 pushes down and couldn't reach our target and big green bar with a little follow through. So I bought some calls here, and obviously, I bought those 445, the 436 calls at 445. They closed at 511, so it's a nice gain, and I should have kind of a no risk trade heading in tomorrow. I was willing to kind of hold on, just see if we close green here, and then that to me could be some follow through to the upside. So we'll find that out. But the main thing was I had the 2 pushes down, couldn't reach our target, and even though it could have made another push down, I would have had to take a small loss by the end of the day. It ended up actually kind of going up, consolidating and closing strong. So we'll see if this is the reversal on the day. Again, if we get up tomorrow, if we move up starting tomorrow early in the session and can't get above the midpoint of this bar, then that might be a potential, choppiness again to the downside that we're kind of that's unfolding in this area, given that we're waiting for that CPI number. I don't know for sure. So it's a little tricky trading, but again, shouldn't have got hurt too bad. The only real thing to be considering was the sell side today, the way, given my methodology of staying below the midpoint of the prior day. And there were kind of 2 opportunities to do that, even if you just, broke even on those type of things. Not great potential here, but not a terrible day either. So anyway, seems like we're chopping around here now, given the CPI number. That's all I could really say. I'm obviously hoping we follow through strongly. And maybe, like I said, on the weekly chart, this is an inside bar that's going to, by the end of the week, break to the upside, if it's given that we couldn't even take out the low of that bar on the first, early in the week. And, so there's no downside failure at the moment. We're heading higher. We'll watch the open of this, week. As long as we stay above that, then maybe we're just going to head up for the rest of the week. And I think that CPI number is going to be a big, factor into where things go next. So let's see how things open tomorrow.